Okay, so you know how sometimes you buy something, you're like, why did I even get this?
Happens to the best of us, right?
Totally. Like that sweater you just had to have. But now it's just, taking up space in your closet.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Like, what is it about spending money that just like gets us sometimes?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. The psychology of spending, why we do it.
Yeah.
The how, the why.
It's so interesting, right? So we're looking at this script, and it's basically for an educational video about personal finance,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really want to unpack is how understanding a little bit about like the psychology behind it all, can actually help us make smarter decisions with our money.
Yeah, because it's not always just about budgets and spreadsheets.
Right. It's way more nuanced than that.
It really is.
So one thing that really stuck out to me from this script was how early we start connecting, like spending money with being happy.
Yeah.
Kind of wild when you think about it. Like think back to being a kid, right? All those toy commercials, the trips to the store with your parents, it all kind of like adds up.
It really does. And what's fascinating is that this early conditioning, it kind of embeds these unconscious biases in our brains that affect how we spend money, even as adults.
Yeah.
And it's not even always about actually wanting the thing we're buying. It's more about the feeling we think we're going to get from it.
Oh, 100%. It's like that instant gratification thing.
Exactly. It's like our brain sees a sale and boom, dopamine, that feel-good chemical. It's all connected.
Like instant reward. It's like, ooh, I'm going to feel so much better when I buy this. It's like that whole retail therapy phenomenon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to buy happiness,
Mhm.
even if it's like super short-lived. Like I remember this one time I was so stressed about a deadline and I ended up buying this like ridiculously expensive coffee maker.
Oh, no.
I know. Did I need a $500 coffee maker? Absolutely not.
But it felt good at the time, right?
But in that moment, it was like this weird solution to my stress.
Yeah, it's like a little reward, right? Like you said. And you know what? Marketers are totally aware of this. They use all sorts of tricks to tap into that, like scarcity marketing. You've seen that?
Oh, yeah.
A limited time offer makes you feel like you're going to miss out if you don't buy it right now.
It's so true.
Or they play on our emotions, like our desire to fit in, It all comes back to those deeply ingrained biases, those little shortcuts our brains have made over years of associating spending with something positive.
It's like we're almost programmed to respond a certain way. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's so important to like know what our triggers are. And this video script actually had some great advice on like how to figure those out. Like think about, are you more likely to spend too much when you're stressed,
Mm-hmm.
bored, or maybe when you're like trying to keep up with someone else's spending habits?
It's so true. You got to know yourself. And you know what? This all ties into one of the most important, like foundational concepts when it comes to managing your money: delayed gratification.
Oh, yeah. The ability to wait for something.
Yeah. Yeah. You're essentially training your brain, right, to prioritize long-term satisfaction over that like instant hit of, I got to have it now. It's like choosing to invest in your future self, even if it means saying no to that tempting impulse buy today.
Yeah. It's like playing the long game. You got to build those financial muscles.
Yeah.
And something the video talked about, which I think ties into this perfectly, is setting clear financial goals for yourself.
Oh, 100%. That's crucial. Yeah.
Having that vision of where you want to be financially just makes you more conscious, of your spending habits.
Absolutely. When you set those SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, by the way, it gives you this framework.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of SMART goals.
Yeah. So it helps you answer that question, is this purchase really going to get me closer to what I really want, or is it just a detour?
Right. Because you have that bigger picture in mind. And it's like that saying, don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want now.
But I think it's also important to acknowledge that constantly denying yourself, like every little thing, can be really tough. The script talked a bit about like rewarding yourself in ways that don't, require spending a ton of money. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love that. And you know what? It actually can make this whole delayed gratification thing feel less restrictive because you're not depriving yourself entirely.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly. So instead of saying, I can never have this, maybe it's, okay, I can have this once a month or I can save up for it.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So you still have something to look forward to.
Right. It could be something as simple as like a dinner at your favorite restaurant once a month, or even just like setting aside a little bit of money each week so that, every few months you can do a little weekend getaway.
Yeah. It's all about enjoying life today while also, making sure you're set up for a good future. It's about being mindful. Exactly. Being intentional with your choices and your spending.
Love it. So as we kind of wrap up here, what's like one key takeaway you want our listeners to really ponder on?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing is to just think about how understanding those triggers, those emotional connections you have with spending, how can that knowledge help you reach your own unique financial goals? Because everyone's different. So what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a race.
I love that. A journey, not a race to financial freedom.
All right. On that note, we'll wrap it up here. This has been really insightful. Thanks so much for joining us as always.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.